have ever been able to experience the natural beauty and wonder that comes with visiting a national park. I am one of those fortunate people. A couple years back, my junior year of high school, my entire family decided that it would be a good idea to take a trip to a national park for my grandparents' 50th anniversary. And when I say my entire family, I mean my entire family. I have a huge family, so it was my family, my grandparents, my aunts, uncles, cousins, all of us. We took a trip to a national park. That national park was Yosemite National Park. For those of you who don't know what Yosemite National Park is, or have never been there, one, you're missing out, and two, it is one of the most popular national parks to tourists and a very popular vacation spot. So one of the activities that we did was we climbed Yosemite Falls, pictured there. It is one of the most famous, this is what Yosemite is known for, is Yosemite Falls. And there's actually trails that you're able to hike up to, and you're standing at the top and you can see the entire park, and it's just really breathtaking. But other than the fact that national parks are beautiful and they offer us a really good vacation spot, what other benefits can they bring to us? Today, I want to explain to you the benefits of national parks in our environment. I will first be going over some background and history about national parks, how they formed, where they formed, how many of them are there, and then I will get into my three main topics, which are, number one, that national parks provide homes to various species of wildlife. Second, they provide healthy food, clean water, and fresh air for us. And third, they provide a learning experience when you visit. So, a little bit of background. According to Wikipedia, a national park is a park in use for conservation purposes. Often it is a reserve of nature, semi-natural, or developed land that a sovereign state declares their own. So by the Act of March 1st, 1872, Congress established Yellowstone National Park, and in the territories of Montana and Wyoming being the first public national park. So the government, once they took off the specific point of land, it was actually the very first national park that was opened. Though other pieces of land were taken over, this was the first one that was open to the public. And since then, many others were opened as well. As you can see here, there are many national parks all over the U.S. And yeah, a lot of them are open, but there's specific ones that are still not open for the public yet because they aren't being preserved. And that is, so soon after the Organic Act was passed in order to preserve the parks. So for specific parks, there are certain organizations that come and preserve the park in order to sustain whatever is living there and stuff that they have there. So leading into my first point, national parks provide a home to a variety of wildlife. As you can see up here, when you walk out your door at a national park, I remember walking out of my cabin and just being able to see deer walking across the street, or we saw a couple bears when we were on a couple hikes. This is the normal for national parks. And among all these other animals are also endangered species. So, according to an article called Wildlife Management, wildlife is managed in concert with the other natural resources of a park in order to maintain all the components and processes of naturally evolving ecosystems, including the natural abundance, diversity, and genetic and ecological integrity of the plant and animal species native to these ecosystems. So specific programs are specifically here to protect these wildlife creatures and making sure that they have a home, because without national parks, imagine yourself without a home. Without a national park, these endangered species would have nowhere to go, and they wouldn't be able to adapt to an environment as easily as other animals might, and they would become extinct. My second point is that national parks provide fresh air, clean water, and healthy food that plants, animals, and humans need to survive on the daily. So I'm sure when you guys are eating your food or drinking water, you don't exactly think of where it could come from. Well, a lot of our food and water sources come from national parks. For water, they're due to streams and different lakes that you can find in national parks, and food like apples and oranges, fruit that grow on the plants and trees in national parks. According to an article called Why National Parks, the leaves of plants make fresh air. Their roots hold the soil together, which stops erosion and keeps our waterways clean. National parks have lots of plants, so they play a big part in keeping our environment healthy. So national park, if you can think about it, is kind of like a cycle. Everything works in a different process in order to give us what we need to survive on the daily. Without certain parts of it, or the national park itself, then who knows what our airways will be like, what our food will be like, and our water wouldn't be as clean as we are used to it being. My third and final point is that national parks provide a learning experience to all who visit. So a lot of you probably, after school ends, you guys can't wait to go on a vacation to get away from school and learning, but you may not be knowing that taking a trip to a national park, you can be learning and relaxing at the same time. I remember we went on a tour with one of our guides, and he was taking us through this major forest filled with so many tall trees, and I remember learning that you can tell how old the tree is by looking at the rims that are on the trunk. And that is something that I didn't know, so I was learning while I was on vacation as well. So, according to an article called 7 Reasons You Should Visit a National Park by Samantha Guzman, they are home to historical trails and ancient archaeological sites that past presidents, poets, and soldiers have traveled across. So while other kids will be lounging in the sand or sitting on the couch, children who visit national parks will be soaking up history, science, and more. And not just for children. There are many professors or teachers that usually are in the fields of environmental science or different sciences will take trips to national parks, go on specific tours in order to learn new information that they can then pass on to their students to give them a new knowledge of the environment and of national parks. So, in conclusion, not only are national parks beautiful and a great vacation spot, they also provide protection and homes for wildlife, they provide clean water, air, and healthy food for us to consume, and they also provide a learning experience to everyone who visits. So next time you're thinking about going on a vacation, maybe choose to go to a national park, especially if you haven't been to one, because you will learn so many new things there, and it will be like an experience that you can never experience here. Thank you.
So Lucy, what did you think? Lucy's not here? Mike, you were anxious to talk about the last one. You want to talk about this one? Said you were anxious to talk about the last one. Do you want to talk about this one? Okay.
The presentation was really good. I actually learned a lot. And your performance was really good, and the visual aids were like actually good. But there was one point which I was curious about, which is the water and the food. Like do they grow certain trees? Like you didn't explain that, or like is it like do what they grow can easily be found in our like stores and so forth? You didn't basically explain that, so that was basically it. But elsewise, the visual was good, and your speech was basically really good.
All right. Well, I think you picked out the one thing that I thought was a little bit odd too when you're talking about the water and the food resources and the importance it has on that. That seemed a little bit vague. Maybe there's some information about water resources and how the national parks protect the origins of the streams or something like that. That's not really well developed. But the food issue, it sounds so vague and grandiose that I'm not sure that it has much substance to it. I think there are better things that you're talking about on the other points, and you can illustrate them a little more clearly. And so that's just more noticeable when you present that, and there's not the same kind of development on it. I'm not saying that it's not true. I'm just saying that it didn't come across that way in the presentation. Everything else was really solid. I thought the introduction was great. You had excellent transition to the purpose purpose of your speech. There's a really good preview of what it is you're talking about. It's well organized in the presentation. I knew exactly where I was all the time. You did good signposting and transitions between the points. The visuals help you a little bit with that, but most of the time it's just your own explanation as to where we are at any given point. The visuals are okay. I mean, actually you've got some very spectacular images. They don't add a lot of understanding to the material, but they do create some interest, and they show us a little bit some of the things that you could be seeing. And like I said before, they also help a little with the transitions. You do a solid job speaking to the audience for the most part. You're not really dependent on the script. You've got the one Wikipedia reference, which we should probably try to find something else for, but everything else was cited pretty clearly, and I thought that you had a very solid exit that was well planned. All right, thank you. Oh, and your exit reminded me to go back and yell at somebody. It's an okay thing. Oh, yeah, Chelsea, about your speech. I thought you had a really good summary exit point until the part where you go, that's pretty much it. Don't do that. All right.